Yes, fight fans. This is Body and Mind Sports. Welcome. You are fully appreciated if you are here for another session of boxing talk. And in this round, I will be covering two fights in particular. The first of those being Edgar Berlanga versus Canelo Alvarez, or should I say, from the A side, Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga. The second fight was a fight on that card, which was CALEB Plant versus Trevor Mccumby. Both fights actually took place this last Saturday, 14th of September. And let me start right away with the first fight. I've actually done a video on these two fights before. However, while attempting to upload those videos, the upload actually failed, so wasn't able to do it again up until now. So here we are. But let me start with the first fight. Of course, Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga. Sal Canelo Alvarez successfully defended his WBA, WBC, and WBO titles via a unanimous decision win. A great win, very entertaining fight by Canelo. To get the win over Edgar Berlanga, who was challenging for his titles at 168. I would say despite Berlanga losing this fight, he came away in that ring a more respected fighter. He can definitely keep his head up as he won our hearts over with his performance. He outperformed himself and definitely outperformed our expectations. Although it was a fight that none of us wanted, of course, Sal Canelo Alvarez going into that fight with all the belts except his IBF title after being stripped of that title in avoiding his IBF mandatory William Skull. So he opted for Berlanga instead because Skull is more or less unknown. There were other options, however, to take the place of Edgar Berlanga. We had David Benavidez, that is. We had David Morrell, and we had Sal Canelo Alvarez, all credible threats who can give Sal Canelo Alvarez a 50-50 fight, if not better, and be a threat to his position and of course to his titles. Canelo opting to not face those fighters and to face Edgar Berlanga instead, which led us to till this day looking at Sal Canelo Alvarez as a duck for avoiding real threats, and instead going for a fighter in Edgar Berlanga who lacked any real experience, and of course has shown us by the eye test in the ring that he is on no level with Sal Canelo Alvarez. But like I said, this fight was very interesting, and in a way I'm glad that it did happen, because it gave us something that we can use to gauge as to where to put Edgar Berlanga in the super middleweight division, what slot he belonged in amongst the fighters. And from this fight we can say that he's most probably amongst the top fighters, and maybe even a future champion one day. And Edgar Berlanga fought very well in this fight from the first bell all the way to the last round. He fought really well, and he got dropped actually in this fight in the third round. But to my amazement, because I had Canelo getting rid of Berlanga within the 6th round. So when he got when Berlanga got dropped in the third round, I actually thought, well, it's over now, because even if he gets up, Canelo Alvarez will get on him with powerful combination punches that I thought Berlanga wouldn't be able to take. But to my surprise, you know, and to many other people's surprise too, Berlanga fought back. He fought well and fought himself out of that situation. No point did he just curl up and become a punching bag for Canelo Alvarez, which we thought that might happen. So Edgar Berlanga weathered the storm in that round and got himself out of trouble, guys. And I thought that was a very, very big sign of bravery from Edgar Berlanga. He showed that he had a great chin, and he showed that he could get himself out of a bad situation even when in there with the best. He showed a lot of heart also, and which helped him to get out of that situation, and again showed us that he could actually box in this fight, as he used his jab after throughout the fight to try and keep Canelo Alvarez at bay, although Canelo Alvarez didn't really have too much trouble closing the distance between him and Edgar Berlanga. I also thought that Edgar Berlanga is a quick learner also, and very, very, very focused, because after biting, after getting dropped by Canelo, that what actually set up the punch that dropped Berlanga was a feint that Berlanga bit, and Canelo used that opportunity to come over the top and hit Berlanga with a right hook, with a left hook, which dropped him. But after that, Berlanga learned quickly and wasn't biting so much on Canelo's feints. He kept focus, stuck to his game plan, so you can see he had a game plan coming in. He could have maybe pushed Canelo Alvarez back a bit more, Berlanga being the much bigger fighter, naturally bigger fighter, the younger fighter, possibly the stronger of the two also. But Canelo Alvarez being also very, very strong, despite his him being the smaller statured man, is very, very difficult to push back Canelo Alvarez, also with the experience that he has fighting bigger fighters. And in fact, doing so, you might get yourself in more trouble than gaining any success from it. So I'll say Berlanga was playing it safe, but not too safe that he would become a punching bag, not too safe that he would not mount any attacks of his own and gain success from, and not too safe also that would render him helpless in the ring. But the fight was pretty much Edgar Berlanga on his back foot, and Canelo Alvarez on the front foot all night up to the 12th round. Edgar Berlanga did pick up his attacks, well, a bit more, I'll say, from the 8th round up until the 12th round. He opened up a lot more, and although throughout the fight, whenever Canelo through Edgar Berlanga attempted to reply and successful in spots, actually hitting Canelo with big shots of his own. But I would say from 8th to the 12th round, he opened up a lot more, and you can see that his confidence was really, really there. He really, really wanted to win the fight. One thing though, I had a problem with Berlanga is that he was always waiting for Canelo to initiate any form of attack. So he was constantly in the mind space of a counter puncher, even in situations where he didn't need to be. Canelo obviously taking a rest sometimes in between, split second rest that I believe Berlanga could have took advantage of. I also feel that, you know, he could have used his legs a bit more around the ring instead of just moving back in straight lines and creating a distance. You could have used his legs a little bit more to create more awkward angles for Sao Canelo Alvarez with distance for him to cover. We saw how that troubled him a lot in his fight with Erislandy Lara, where he was found lunging and reaching in order to reach his opponent. And Edgar Berlanga, being a real powerful big young man also as he is, I believe would have had a lot of success were he able to do that with Canelo, and would have created the openings for him to land big powerful shots of his own. But nonetheless, it did open up a bit more in the 8th to the final round. I just thought that, you know, he had nothing to lose, and he should have opened up more as his team, his corner, was urging him. He also lacked quite a few tools in his arsenal that I believe would have helped him. He didn't jab too much to the body. And catching and shooting, I believe he could have done a lot of that when him and Sao Canelo Alvarez were close up. You could have done a lot of catching and shooting that I did not see from Edgar Berlanga. But I believe what really cost him in this fight was just the lack of experience, guys, and possibly the speed to Sao Canelo Alvarez. Obviously, the more speedy fighter of the two, Berlanga could have had problems with, you know, timing Sao Canelo Alvarez's speed, and but he was comfortable with Canelo's power, surprisingly, you know. So a good testament to Edgar Berlanga. We obviously now know that he's very durable and has very good punch resistance. Also very confident fighter. He outperformed himself, outperformed our expectations, and outperformed the performance of Jermell Charlo, which I thought he put up a very disgraceful performance. Just basically came into the ring to lie down and collect money like a lady of the night, and very disappointed from Charlo in that fight. So that said, I think Edgar Berlanga came out of the ring possibly a more experienced fighter, a better fighter than he came in the ring with, and he walked out of there with his head high, and a lot more respect from us, respect from Sao Canelo Alvarez too. So congratulations to Sao Canelo Alvarez, and credit to Edgar Berlanga on his performance. He won our hearts, and I'm sure with it he has won a lot more fans also. But that said, let me move on to the next fight. Trevor Mccumby versus Caleb Plant, or should I say Caleb Plant versus Trevor Mccumby. Coming into this fight out, I saw Trevor Plant to be the heavy favorite, despite him coming off a loss to David Benavidez, a unanimous decision loss to David Benavidez, and having taken, you know, I think just about a year or so off before facing Trevor Mccumby. So he's taken about a year or more, you know, before coming into this fight with Trevor Mccumby, who was in fact an undefeated fighter. But looking at his you know, his resume, he's not really fought at this level before either. So I just looked at it as a fight for as a return fight for Plant, for him to get back into winning ways and possibly get himself back into title contention. And Plant performed very, very brilliantly, but more so, I was surprised at how well Mccumby performed also, despite him actually losing. Plant winning this fight via a 9th round TKO to continue on in the 168 division. First round, Plant, as always, he came out fighting on the outside, guys, trying to establish his jab, and with his jab he used that to set up you know, more powerful punches, set up hooks. He even went to the body in the fight, so I knew right away Plant was planning to target that body of Mccumby, and he succeeded, you know, in the very first round with one mean body punch. I don't know how how Mccumby took that without even reacting at all. So yeah, Mccumby, initial thoughts, very, very durable fighter. But what I saw from that first round is that Mccumby really did not have much of a jab. He didn't really have much speed either, and didn't have much footwork. In fact, his footwork was terrible, to tell you the truth, and his jab almost non-existent. But Mccumby, what he did have was power and aggression, and he didn't really use it much in that first round. You know, that first round I actually gave to CALEB Plant, but things did pick up in the second round. Trevor Mccumby, very terrible movement I saw from, very terrible defense also, defense tactics I got out of that first round, where CALEB Plant, if you know, were to close up on Mccumby, was actually tagging him quite easily. But in the second round, Mccumby came in more rough, more rugged, and CALEB Plant still using his jab to keep Mccumby at bay and to set up more powerful punches, fighting from the outside. But Mccumby pretty much having not much leg work, was just rushing in at CALEB Plant with powerful hooks and straight punches, and was tagging Plant because of the speed at which he was running in with, regardless that he had, you know, abandoned his own defense in running in at Plant like that. So he was just running in and throwing hooks, and he found some success doing that. In the second round, he actually dropped Plant with one of those hooks right near the ropes, and I think Mccumby kind of held him up, because that was a legitimate drop, legitimate knockdown, guys. Even though it was not ruled as so, I believe it was a legitimate knockdown, because I saw Plant literally crumble down, and that was just right at the bell, the end of the second round. And when he walked away, he was obviously on wobbly legs, and Mccumby, a very, very good entertainer, while Plant walking away with wobbly legs. Just Mccumby there showing some showmanship in mimicking CALEB Plant's wobbly legs. And yeah, very, very fun to watch. But the fight continued the same. A bit of rough housing in the third round, and Mccumby another knockdown where he literally threw CALEB Plant to the ground. Very, very funny character, Mccumby, and a big character at that. Very, very confident fighter despite his flaws. That knockdown was not legitimate, and I'm glad it wasn't counted. But he did receive another knockdown, CALEB Plant, at the hand of Mccumby in the fourth round, guys. Mccumby intended to shoot to Plant's liver, and Plant covered up well. He hit Plant in the arm, but the momentum of you know, Plant already moving backwards, taking a step backwards. The momentum of that punch and his step backwards knocked Plant down, but it did hit him nonetheless. So a legitimate knockdown, which was counted and ruled as a knockdown. So that was, you know, the 4th round, guys. The 5th round, Mccumby, Caleb Plant still boxing well, but Mccumby still having success, you know, in spots, but with his tactics of running in and lunging in and throwing powerful hooks and straights, and he was getting to Caleb Plant, frustrating him, and having him wobbly legs at times. He was not really receiving these punches very well. He was not reacting well to them at all. But the first half of the fight, I'll say from round 1 to round 4, I had it kind of even, but leaning a little bit towards Mccumby because of the 2 knockdowns. I believe earned him extra points on those rounds. So 6th round, Caleb Plant changed his tactics and started fighting more on the inside after realizing that the distance he was given between himself and his opponent was giving Mccumby more room to gain momentum in his run up, in his leaping, to throw those hooks, giving him more leverage also. So Plant closed up that distance in the 6th round and adjusted, started fighting more on the inside, and kept it the same throughout the rest of the fight. He and while doing so, he started dominating and literally overpowering and bullying Trevor Mccumby, just literally walking him down to the ropes and punishing him with very, very hard big punches, guys. And he was sitting down very well on his punches, going down to the body, hitting him with hooks up top and uppercuts, guys. He utilized the uppercut perfectly while having Mccumby on the ropes. And Mccumby at times would fight back and have very small success, but not really hitting Caleb Plant too cleanly as he was in the previous rounds. And that carried on onto the 9th round when Mccumby, but before the 9th round, I'd say from 8th round to 7, you could already see that Plant's shots having much greater effect on Mccumby. Those body shots had already paid off for Plant, and were doing well to sap Mccumby of his energy and really starting to slow him down. And that carried on to the 9th round, where Mccumby finally succumbed to the Plant's ferocious attacks. You know, in the 9th round, Caleb still fighting on the inside using that tactic now, and walking Mccumby down to the ropes, you know, emptied out a great variety of punches and a barrage of punches to the body, the head, great uppercuts, which had Mccumby with no reply for Caleb Plant. And at that point, I could just see Mccumby finally waning and crumbling under those heavy attacks. And at that point, I could just see Mccumby almost going out on his feet when the referee stepped in to stop the fight in the 9th round to earn Caleb Plant the 9th round TKO. So that was how the fight ended, guys, in the 9th round. But you know, a great fight from round 1 to round 9. Very entertaining while it lasted. Caleb Plant, I saw a much better improved Caleb Plant. He proved to us that he could fight on the inside, and he proved to us that he could deliver we knew that he had respectable power before. We knew that he had KO power, but in this fight he really sat down, guys, and delivered those punches with a lot of mean ferocity. But going forward, I just want to say one thing first. Trevor Mccumby is a very tough fighter, guys, and I think he will give anybody in the division a huge amount of problems, especially with his power, regardless of the fact that he has many flaws. His defense being one, the fact that he has no jab, no footwork, speed, again another issue. But besides that, he's very strong and very confident fighter, very tough, very rugged fighter that will give anybody in the division problems. But who could Mccumby fight next? Possibly Edgar Berlanga, a possible opponent that Edgar Berlanga can pick up a win from and gain more experience. Possibly, use Trevor Mccumby as a stepping stone to facing more top fighters in the division, such as Caleb Plant and Munguia. So Trevor Mccumby, very tough, man, and I wouldn't mind seeing Mccumby versus Berlanga next. As for Caleb Plant, also I wouldn't mind seeing him with Berlanga, seeing the way that Berlanga performed against Canelo Alvarez, who was actually able to finish Caleb Plant via a TKO win in their fight. Again, for Caleb Plant, I would like to see him with Munguia also. I just want to see all the top fighters facing each other in that division. We can throw it in there, Christian Mbile, also the IBO champion in the division. I think it's time to give him a chance against one of the top ranked fighters. But for Canelo, who could he fight? I wouldn't mind seeing Canelo and Plant again. I think that would be a great fight. Like I said, Plant, is a much more improved Plant this time around in this fight. We can throw in Christian Mbile there also for Sao Canelo Alvarez, because Alvarez right now is not willing to face any of the fighters that are actually, we know, to be legitimate threats to Sao Canelo Alvarez. Fighters that could give him 50-50 matchups, the David Benavides, the David Morrells, the Terence Bud Crawfords. But although he's not really totally counted out a fight with Benavides or a fight with Crawford, he most definitely has counted out David Morrell as for now. And any chance of seeing the other two fights happening, David Benavides or Crawford versus Canelo, for now it doesn't really seem very likely, although he has not totally counted it out. But with that said, that's all I have for you on this session of Boxing Talk. You can catch me some more on the on Body and Mind Sports in the next video. But before you leave, don't forget to like, don't forget to share, subscribe, and drop your comments below. And as always, stay very blessed.